Welcome to another special book overview episode of our Mandatory Mental Liberation series, produced by Baba Jelani Bomani Dembe, founder of Majestic Mind Matters University. I'm your royal narrator, Queen Magical Melanin, for this new book overview episode titled Teaching White Supremacy, America's Democratic Ordeal and the Forging of Our National Identity by Donald Iacovone. The necessity of the Mandatory Mental Liberation series at Majestic Mind Matters University lies in our focus on serving our melanin-rich culture communities. By addressing the importance of knowledge of self to produce greater self-awareness and advocating for our mental liberation, but especially for our precious melanin-rich culture children, our messages aims to combat the enduring effects of generational mental enslavement stemming from the historical trauma of the chattel enslavement of the ancestors. Our initiative seeks to empower us to break free from these harmful and unfavorable legacies and cultivate a deep-rooted sense of self-identity and unwavering resilience. In this special episode, if the terms Black, African American, marginalized, or people of color is used in reference to our melanin-rich culture people, it is for the sole purpose of understanding the importance of expressing the mindset of global society for that time period in history, compared to our well-informed melanin-rich culture people mindsets today. Our melanin-rich culture people who are reading more extensively and our melanin-rich culture people that stay on the go and who actively listen to and subscribe and share podcast links, just like these produced by Baba Jelani Bomani Dembe, the founder of Majestic Mind Matters University in the Mandatory Mental Liberation series messages. With me, Queen Magical Melanin, your royal narrator, for our open-minded melanin-rich culture. People who are seeking more understanding and greater knowledge of self for true uplifting spiritual empowerment. Donald Iacovane's book, Teaching White Supremacy, America's Democratic Ordeal and the Forging of Our National Identity, is a comprehensive examination of the historical roots and lasting impact of white supremacy in the United States. Donald Iacovone delves deep into the complexities of race relations in America, tracing the evolution of white supremacy from its inception to the present day. By exploring the ways in which white supremacy has shaped our national identity, Donald Iacovone sheds light on the enduring challenges that continue to plague our democratic society. Donald Iacovone begins by examining the origins of white supremacy in the American colonies, where chattel enslavement of the ancestors and the subjugation of Native people were foundational to the development of America. He argues that the ideology of white supremacy was not only central to the economic and social structures of early America, but also played a crucial role in shaping the political landscape of the country. Through a detailed analysis of key historical events and influential figures, Donald Iacovone demonstrates how white supremacy became ingrained in the fabric of American society. One of the book's most compelling arguments is that white supremacy has not only been a tool of oppression, but also a powerful force in shaping the national identity of the United States. Donald Iacovone contends that the myth of white superiority has been perpetuated through the centuries, contributing to a sense of entitlement and privilege among white Americans. This sense of superiority, he argues, has been used to justify discriminatory policies and actions that have disproportionately affected our melanin-rich culture communities. Donald Iacovone also explores the ways in which white supremacy has been taught and perpetuated through various institutions, including schools, churches, and the media. He argues that the educational system has played a significant role in reinforcing racial hierarchies and promoting a distorted view of America's dark history. By glossing over the atrocities committed against marginalized communities and glorifying the achievements of white settlers, Donald Iacovone contends that the educational system has helped to perpetuate the myth of white supremacy. Moreover, Donald Iacovone highlights the ways in which white supremacy has been challenged and resisted throughout American history. From the abolitionist movement to the civil rights era, he showcases the efforts of individuals and communities who have fought against the oppressive forces of racism and discrimination. However, he also acknowledges the enduring nature of white supremacy, pointing to the systemic inequalities that continue to pervade American society. Teaching White Supremacy is a thought-provoking and illuminating exploration of the enduring legacy of racism in America. By tracing the origins and evolution of white supremacy, Donald Giacovone offers readers a deeper understanding of the complexities of race relations in the United States. Through his insightful analysis and compelling arguments, he challenges readers to confront the uncomfortable truths of our national history and to work towards a more just and equitable society. Overall, Donald Giacovone's book is a valuable resource for anyone seeking to better understand the historical roots of racism and white supremacy in America. By shedding light on the ways in which these ideologies have shaped our national identity, Donald Giacovone offers a compelling call to action for individuals and communities to confront the legacy of racism and work towards a more inclusive and equitable future. Donald Giacovone demonstrates how the ideology of European colonialism and racial superiority has been used to justify the conquest and subjugation of indigenous people, our enslaved ancestors, and other marginalized groups throughout American history. From the earliest days of European settlement in the Americas, white supremacy was embedded in the legal and social structures of the burgeoning nation. The doctrine of manifest destiny, which proclaimed the God-given right of white settlers to expand across the continent, justified the violent displacement and extermination of Native American tribes. The chattel enslavement of the ancestors, a brutal institution founded on the belief in the inferiority of our melanin-rich culture people, was enshrined in the Constitution and upheld by a system of laws that denied us our basic rights and humanity. Donald Giacovone points to the ways in which white supremacy has been perpetuated through generations of American history, shaping the dominant narratives and myths that have defined the nation. The myth of the self-made man, for example, which celebrates individual success and rugged individualism, often obscures the role that systemic racism and privilege have played in determining who has access to opportunity and success in American society. Similarly, the narrative of the melting pot, which celebrates America as a diverse and inclusive society, often overlooks the ways in which racial hierarchies and discrimination continue to divide and marginalize our communities. Donald Giacovone argues that the enduring unfavorable legacy of white supremacy continues to shape the way Americans understand their dark history, identity, and place in the world. The glorification of the Confederacy in monuments and memorials, for example, perpetuates a myth of the lost cause that romanticizes the Southern cause and downplays the horrors of chattel enslavement and racial violence. The persistence of racial disparities in wealth, education, healthcare, and the criminal justice systems underscores the ongoing impact of white supremacy on our melanin-rich culture communities. Moreover, Donald Giacovone suggests that the unfavorable legacy of white supremacy has hindered efforts to achieve racial equality and justice in America, perpetuating systems of oppression and inequality that disproportionately harm us. The recent wave of police violence against us, the rise of white nationalism and hate crimes, and the continued marginalization of indigenous communities all point to the deep-seated nature of racism and white supremacy in American society. In light of these challenges, Donald Giacovone calls for a critical reevaluation of America's national identity, one that acknowledges and confronts the legacy of white supremacy in shaping the nation's history and culture. He argues that only by reckoning with this legacy, by confronting the ways in which white supremacy has distorted our understanding of the past and present, can we begin to build a more just and inclusive society for us as well. Donald Giacovone's powerful and incisive analysis challenges us to confront the enduring influence of white supremacy on America's national identity. By acknowledging the ways in which racism and privilege have shaped our history and culture, we can begin to work towards a more equitable and compassionate society that upholds the principles of equality and justice for us as well. Systemic racism, implicit bias, economic inequality, political polarization, lack of representation, intersectionality, and healing and reconciliation are all interconnected factors that contribute to the ongoing struggle for racial equality in America. These issues highlight the deep-seated disparities and injustices that continue to exist in our society, impacting us in various aspects of our lives. Systemic racism is a pervasive and insidious force that permeates American institutions and perpetuates racial inequalities. From education to employment to healthcare, we face systemic barriers that limit our access to opportunities and resources. For example, studies have shown that we are more likely to attend underfunded schools and receive lower quality education compared to our white counterparts. This disparity in educational resources contributes to a cycle of poverty and limited upward mobility for us. Implicit bias, or unconscious stereotypes and prejudices that influence perceptions and behaviors, also play a significant role in perpetuating racial inequalities. Even seemingly well-intentioned individuals hold biases that affect how they interact with us. Overcoming these biases requires self-awareness, education, and active efforts to challenge and change discriminatory attitudes and actions. By promoting empathy and understanding, we can begin to break down the barriers that separate us and build a more inclusive and equitable society for us as well. Economic inequality is another key factor that contributes to racial disparities. Generational wealth disparities and limited access to economic opportunities perpetuate cycles of poverty among our melanin-rich culture communities, reinforcing systemic inequalities. Addressing economic inequality requires targeted interventions that provide marginalized communities with the resources and support needed to thrive and succeed. Political polarization further complicates efforts to achieve racial equality in America. Divisive rhetoric and policies fueled by racial resentment and xenophobia can deepen existing tensions and hinder progress towards social and economic justice. By promoting empathy, understanding, and dialogue across political divides, we can work towards building a more inclusive and just society for us as well. Lack of representation in positions of power and influence is another significant barrier to achieving racial equality. When melanin-rich culture people are underrepresented in government, business, media, and other key institutions, our voices and experiences are often marginalized and overlooked. Increasing representation and diversity in decision-making processes is essential for addressing systemic inequalities and promoting social and economic equity. Intersectionality, or the interconnected nature of social identities and forms of oppression, is also crucial for understanding the complexities of racial inequality. Recognizing how race intersects with other factors such as gender, sexuality, and class is essential for developing inclusive and equitable solutions that address the diverse experiences and needs of our marginalized communities. Healing and reconciliation are essential components of any efforts to address the enduring legacy of white supremacy in America. By acknowledging historical injustices, promoting healing and reconciliation, and fostering positive intergroup relationships based on mutual respect and understanding, we can begin to move towards a more just and equitable society for us as well. In conclusion, achieving racial equality and justice in America requires a comprehensive and ongoing effort that addresses systemic racism, implicit bias, economic inequality, political polarization, lack of representation, intersectionality, and healing and reconciliation. By working together to challenge systems of oppression, promote social and economic equity, combat racial bias, and create inclusive and empowered communities, we can build a more just and equitable society for us as well. I'm your royal narrator, Queen Magical Melanin. We trust that you have expanded your understanding through the insights shared by Baba Jelani Bomani Dembe, founder of Majestic Mind Matters University, in our Mandatory Mental Liberation Series book overview message titled, Teaching White Supremacy, America's Democratic Ordeal and the Forging of Our National Identity by Donald Iacovoni. Remember this, it is essential to honor the ancestors. We have a unique connection to the ancestors. They endured many unwarranted struggles, preserved our melanin-rich culture, and passed down invaluable wisdom through many generations. By honoring the ancestors, we pay honorable tribute to our roots and draw great strength and much-needed inspiration from the unwavering resilience and royal legacy that has paved the way for our present and future generations. Ancestral reverence is a powerful way for us to continually uphold our own melanin-rich identity, heritage, and cultural legacy. Here is an ancient Alkebulan proverb to keep in mind. If you think you are too small to make a difference, you have not spent the night with a mosquito. Remember this as well, whenever you are in the presence of anyone, saying, they don't see color, it actually means they don't see You, as a member of our melanin-rich culture, you must strive for knowledge of self for greater personal awareness. Always treat yourself kindly and seek to live a totally awesome and gloriously fulfilling melanin-rich culture life. So, like, subscribe, and share this very special melanin-rich culture link with everyone that you care about and that really cares about you and all of yours as well, and thank you for listening. Ashe.